that the king gives permission for the Jews to fight back, and Yud Gimel Adar to defend themselves. As the saying goes, someone wants to stand up to kill you, you're allowed to kill them first. So basically, now a new letter went out, and some say anyway, the new letter basically publicized how wicked Haman was and how Haman wanted to kill the Jews. So now we had a rule in the olden days that if a king made a decree and one of the members of the kingdom of the highest positions died, they canceled the decree. So this was really anyway announcing that Haman died. He was the royal official that made the decree, and therefore the decree shouldn't be effective anymore. It turns out Mordechai now left the palace of the king dressed in the most regal clothing, the most kingly garments you can imagine. He probably looked like a Kohen Gadol himself. How did he look? He had a special shirt made of silk and wool that was the color of techelas, that special blue wool. I'm sure his tzitzis were also techelas. He also had a very special garment that was made out of strings of gold with gems and jewels and all types of expensive, precious gems on it. And then under it, he had a special type of shirt made out of purple material that had on it the pictures of birds, different birds. I guess as a symbol that the Jews escaped and were able to fly away from this decree. It turns out this shirt costed 420 gold coins. So you can imagine how he was dressed very, very fancy. Around him also was a special belt with special gems and jewels, and he had special shoes made in Persia, very beautiful. He also had special sword, and the sword was hanging on a golden chain, and it was a very unique sword. On the blade of the sword was this inscription how Yerushalayim looked. So he had the city of Jerusalem engraved into the sword, and on the handle of the sword was a beautiful depiction of the city of Madai, where Achashverosh was a ruler. On his head was a golden crown on Mordechai's head. It came from Macedonia, and by his crown he was wearing his tefillin. So you can imagine how beautiful he looked with a crown on his head and tefillin. And this way everyone would see the glory that was given to Mordechai for saving the king's life. And they covered the ground also with beautiful red carpets, and on the walls were beautiful plants that smelled very good, hadassim. And there were also many Yidden that were carrying smaller gold crowns also. Now it used to be in the olden days when they wanted to honor someone, they had an official walk before him holding a big, magnificent crown in his hands. This was a way of honoring people, and this a very important person went holding this crown before him. The 10 sons of Haman, who were the biggest enemies of the Jews, also were made to walk in front of Mordechai when he was on the royal horse, and they were in chains and tied up as they were about to be eventually killed. It was a great joy, simcha v'sasain hayu laYehudim, a great happiness, a great joy for all the Jews in the city. And Esther Amalka was not allowed to go into the street. The queen stays in the palace, but she was filled with joy looking from the window. And when Mordechai realized that Esther was there, he said the pasuk in Tehillim, Baruch Hashem sheloi nisananu taraf l'shineim. Blessed is Hashem that He didn't put us into the teeth of our enemies to eat us. And Esther called out, Ezri me'im Hashem osei shemayim v'aretz. Hashem helped me, Hashem who made the heaven and the earth. And when the Yidden in the 127 countries under Achashverosh's rule heard that they were saved, there was tremendous joy. They made many parties, and they gave Shavach v'Haidah to Hashem. At that time, there were many enemies of the Jews that had ganged up with Haman, and now they realized they're in big trouble. So their plan was stopped, and some say that now that the Yidden were being honored by the king, many Goyim tried acting like Jews. They even tried dressing up like Jews and maybe making themselves convert. I don't think the Yidden were going to accept their gerus at that time because it wasn't sincere. But the most important part of this episode was that when the decree against the Jews was stopped, there was such a simcha in Klal Yisrael that Chazal say, the Gemara says, that the Yidden were mekabel the Torah a second time, and this time they were even happier than at Har Sinai. At Har Sinai they said, Nasav and Nishma, we accept to do the Torah and keep the mitzvahs. But then they did it out of Yira. They were afraid, there was thunder, there was lightning, and Hashem lifted Har Sinai above their heads, threatening them that they better learn Gemara and better learn Mishnayos. But now that their lives were saved, they accepted the Torah, Hadav Kibluah. This time they accepted it with love and Ava. And that's why Purim, in a sense, is most happy time. Not only because the Yidden were saved. Yes, that's a great reason to be happy. But it's that the Yidden showed their devotion to Hashem even higher than at Har Sinai. Har Sinai, they left Mitzrayim. They were grateful Hashem saved them from Paro, and Hashem made the Makkos. So they accepted the Torah. Very nice. But now it was even a higher level. Now they realized that really Hashem could have been justified with punishing them with their death, because many Yidden went to the Suda B'Achashverosh, and many Yidden bowed down to the Avodah Zarah of Nebuchadnezzar. But now that they saw Hashem accepted their tshuva and their crying out, their tefillah, so now they felt closer to Hashem than ever. So Purim is a time of Hadar v'Kiblua, that they again showed that Hashem, we accept to always serve you b'simcha. So when it says that you should be happy in the month of Adar, it also means that when you learn Torah, you should be happier. When you daven, you should be happier. And when you do all the mitzvahs, you should have a new level of fresh excitement, happiness, and simcha. We know that when Haman was hanged and the Yidden were finally able to feel at least a relief that their arch enemy was gone, the job wasn't over. Mordechai and Esther had to still persuade Achashverosh to let the Yidden get rid of all the other Goyim who were threatening the safety of the Yidden. Now, it was a great time for Klal Yisrael because when they saw the downfall of Haman, they became closer to Hashem. Chazal say they accepted the Torah anew. And that's why the word Purim and Yom Kippurim are related. Because by Yom Kippur, we got the second Luchos. So by Purim, the Yidden got a second chance also to serve Hashem and do tshuva. Before Yom Kippur, they might have got killed because of the Chet of the Egel. And by Purim, they almost got killed because of the sin of bowing down to Nebuchadnezzar's gigantic idol. And now, Hashem forgave them, so Purim and Yom Kippurim were both happy times. We're very happy on Yom Kippur, because that's when we got the Torah again, Luchos Shnios, the second Luchos, and now, Klal Yisrael got a chance again to serve Hashem. It's important to note that Haman was trying to stop the Yidden from doing the main mitzvos, as we know, learning Torah, Shabbos and Yontif, Bris Milah and Tefillin. He wanted to take away those very mitzvos that show our love to Hashem. When you learn Torah, that shows your love to Hashem. When you keep Shabbos, when you have a Bris Milah, Tefillin, he wants to take away these mitzvos from Klal Yisrael. So Purim celebrates that we have these mitzvahs, and he didn't take them away. Now, let's go weiter. Esther divided the wealth of Haman into 3 places. 1/3 was donated to kollels. That's for Talmidei Chachamim who are devoted to learning Torah all day, and they need food. Why should a Talmid Chacham be a pauper? Why should he be a beggar? Why should he be without money? So there has to always be in every Jewish community people who are worried and concerned with the livelihoods of these Talmidei Chachamim so they can sit and learn Torah. So basically 1/3 of Haman's estates and properties ironically went to these wonderful Yidden, the Talmidei Chachamim. 1/3 Mordechai and Esther kept, whatever they needed to have it for, and 1/3 was given for the treasury for the building of the second Beis HaMikdash. That's where some of the money went. Now, the tables turned for our enemies. They wanted to get rid of the Yidden on Yud Gimel Adar, which happens to be my mother's birthday, Tainus Esther, that day. And that's the day that the Yidden fought back. They fought back and they killed many terrorists. Believe it or not, in every generation there were people that wanted to get rid of the Jews, and they were able to target and get rid of 500 of the worst threats to the Jewish people. The Goyim didn't want to fight back because they knew that the king Achashverosh authorized the Jews to protect themselves, defend themselves, and fight against the enemies. They even praised the Jews' efforts because they were scared of Mordechai. Mordechai's name became very famous in the world. He was publicized as a member of the government, of the parliament. He was like prime minister to the king. At that time, the Yidden killed 500 men in Shushan and the 10 sons of Haman. And those 10 sons were Parshandasa, Dalphon, Aspasa, Parasa, Adalia, Aridasa, Parmashta, Arisai, Aridai, and Vaizasa. Those were the 10 sons of Haman who were also killed. Esther asked permission that Achashverosh asked Esther, is there anything else you wish? She asked permission that the 10 sons of Haman should be hanged up on a tree with Haman. Now Haman was hanging all the way since Pesach. He was still on the pole. So he was still hanging for 11 months. This is 11 months later in the month of Adar. And Achashverosh put a canopy on top of him so that this way birds couldn't eat his skin. So his skeleton or whatever, his decaying body was sitting there still hung up on the tree. And now Esther got permission to hang up his wicked sons. Since it was 50 amos tall, and each one of them was about 3 amos tall, so that's about 30 feet was taking up their space, then 33 feet, then there was two amos on top of the pole, and the 2 amos on the bottom, that this way wild animals couldn't jump up and attack them, their bodies. Basically, they were in the middle of this long pole, all of them. Okay, Esther asked Achashverosh, the Yidden should have one more day to fight, and that was Yud Daled Adar, to fight and protect themselves. He gave his permission, and they were able to kill 300 more wicked criminals. It turns out, in the other cities, the Yidden killed 75,000 enemies. So there was, outside of Shushan, 75,000 enemies around the world that Klal Yisrael were able to kill. So Purim was a great time to get rid of our enemies. We always hope that around Purim time, Mashiach should come and get rid of all the enemies today. It turns out the 10 sons of Haman were hanged, and at that time, the 13th of Adar, the Yidden fought. On the 14th of Adar, they made a day of partying, a day of Yontif and partying. That's why on Purim we have parties. Everyone goes to their Rebbe's house on Purim, I hope. It's a great time to celebrate. The Yidden in Shushan, though, fought for 2 days. They fought for the 13th of Adar and on the 14th of Adar. They fought on both days. They did not rest until the 15th of Adar. That's why in Shushan and in Yerushalayim and in any city that had a wall around it from the days of Yoshua ben Nun, they don't celebrate Purim on the 14th of Adar. They celebrate it on the 15th. This is to give honor to Yoshua ben Nun, since he was the first one that fought the war against Amalek. We know from Sefer Yoshua that Yoshua was the greatest king warrior for Klal Yisrael to fight Amalek. He really was the one that Moshe Rabbeinu sent, and therefore any city that has a wall around the city from the days of Yoshua, they should celebrate Purim the same day that Shushan Purim is celebrated, which is the 15th day of Adar. Every other city celebrates Purim on the 14th, and these days were established to remember the miracles that Hashem did for us. And we read the Megillas, Esther, the day and the night. Rashi discusses why we read it twice. And you have to know that we don't read Hallel, we don't sing Hallel on Purim. Now, any thinking person should wonder, why don't we sing Hallel on Purim? And the answer given is because it wasn't a complete Geula. In other words, we were still at that time under King Achashverosh. It wasn't a complete Geula. So therefore, we don't sing a Hallel on Purim. Now, it's very interesting that the Jewish people give, in the month of Adar, a half a shekel coin to tzedakah. That money is used to buy karbanos in the Beis HaMikdash. It was that zechus that Klal Yisrael were giving this in the month of Adar, that later on in the month of Adar, when they were going to be annihilated, Hashem didn't let them get killed. The